We are back once again. Thank you for listening to the MeanGene Show here on iHeartRadio. Hey, folks, on Wednesday, the NBA draft was held. It wasn't your normal NBA format, but I mean, has anything been normal in 2020? Nevertheless, ESPN and NBA pulled it off and did a pretty good job. I mean, some interesting picks and reactions on draft night. But hey, my special guest today knows a little something about being drafted and draft night. He was selected as the 11th overall pick in the first round of the 1991 NBA draft by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Prior to that, in that same year, he was the Pac 10 Player of the Year. And during his NBA career, folks, he was a two-time NBA All-Star and an NBA All-Rookie. In 1997, Sports Illustrated dubbed him as the best point guard of the year. In addition to playing for Cleveland, he also played for the Milwaukee Bucks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, where he teamed up with another NBA All-Star, Kevin Garnett. I am so pleased and honored to welcome Terrell Brandon to the show. What's up, TB?
Finally, we finally got everything taken care of, man.
Hey, one thing
it's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, man. I thank you for working with me and coming on the show, man. I've been so excited to be able to talk to you because hey, Terrell, your name comes up in so many conversations when we talk about some of the best guards that ever played the game. I mean, there is never an argument that when we mention Terrell Brandon, everybody just shuts up and goes along with it.
Wow, are you serious, man? Wow, that's crazy, man. Thank you, man. I
Hey,
appreciate that.
hey, no problem, Terrell. Hey, I know, as we mentioned, the NBA draft was the other night, and I wanted to get your thoughts on just quite a few things, man. Just the draft itself, and of course, looking at what Minnesota and Cleveland did. Minnesota had the number one pick. Want to get your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, the draft was interesting, and of course, it always goes back to my times when I got drafted, of course, and seeing the families respond, and seeing people, the mothers and the fathers crying, the coaches crying, the brothers and sisters, and knowing what it takes from 0 to 18 or 19 or 20 to get to that position. And you get so much help from people in the community. And just to see the emotions of the players, I think it's beautiful, and it goes back to when I got drafted in 1991. It changes people's lives. It changes, you're able to help grandmothers and grandfathers and uncles and aunties and brothers and sisters and people in position to not be broke anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it brings back so many different emotions, and I'm so proud of the players. And now we look at the position of the players and how they come out. You don't have to average 25, 30 points a game like you used to.
Yeah.
You average 12 or 13 and still get paid.
Absolutely, folks. Once again, we are talking with two-time NBA All-Star Terrell Brandon. So, that's right. And that was another question, too, about, like you say, you don't have to average those kind of points and stuff. But how has the point guard position changed since you played?
Say it one more time. I'm sorry.
No problem. I said, I just want to piggyback on what you said about, not having to score that many points, back in the day. But how has the point guard position changed since you played in the NBA?
Oh, okay. Yes. The point guard position has definitely changed. Actually, last night I did a podcast with Gary Payton till about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we talked about the Pac-10 point guards and all of that. And other than Chris Paul, you really don't have to be a typical point guard like we were back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Now you have to have a jump shot. You have to be able to shoot the ball. And so as long as you can shoot the ball, you can last in the league. The average involved, it becomes kind of old fashioned. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? You got to
Yeah.
put the ball in the hole, and so you got to be more of a scoring point guard, and that's what I think Tim Hardaway taught us back in the early '90s. Is you can distribute and get people involved, but you got to put the ball in the hole. And so now uh, GMs and presidents, they're not concerned about assist and turnover ratio like they were back when I came up. They want to know if you can put the ball in the hole and you can shoot that jump shot. So work on your jump. I would encourage all young people work on your jump shot.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You're hearing it from one of the best. Hey, you dropped some pretty big names there, Hardaway and Payton and stuff. So I want to go back down memory lane a little bit. So
Okay.
when Sports Illustrated dubbed you as the best point guard of the year back in '97, I mean, and you know how many great guards there were back during that year. How did you feel to get such an honor?
It was really surreal because when Sports Illustrated interviewed me, they didn't tell me that I was going to be on the cover. They just said that I was going to have I just did an interview across the street from Gun Arena at an Italian restaurant. You know what I'm saying? And so it was real surreal. It was real, flam. It was just laid back and just like you and I. And we did an interview, and all of a sudden during All Star Weekend, it came out that I was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And so, I got, my friend Gary Payton and Tim Hardaway and, Penny Hardaway and John
Right.
Stockton. Now they're looking at me, Mookie Blaylock and Isaiah Thomas. They're looking at me like, oh, so you the best point guard in the NBA, John Stockton, And I'm like, I didn't say it. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else said it. So I remember after All Star Weekend that every point guard was eating at me. It was coming at me. Trying to, Allen Iverson, everybody, they was trying to come at me going, and so if you're the best point guard, and Sports Illustrated said it, I'm gonna come at you. So I just had to, I couldn't be a punk, man.
Right.
I'm just gonna just be straight up. I couldn't be a punk, and I had to live up to what I didn't believe I was the best point guard. I didn't never say that, but now I have to. If they feel like that I am by statistics, by blocks, by assists, rebounds. I mean, I was a complete point guard. I wasn't
Right.
just a point guard. And that's
Yes.
why they named me the best point guard. Well, let me just be myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, I was myself.
But I mean, you really were because I mean, you just didn't and on the court, off the court, your style. And this is why, because I mean, nothing against those other guys. I mean, some folks played with a little drama, some didn't. But your game was so consistent, and like you say, you just let your playing do the talking.
Thank
I
you.
mean, you were so consistent.
Thank you so much. And that's what I want to portray is, my personality is different than Gary or different than Isaiah or different than other point guards. But my trash talk wasn't verbally. My
Hmm.
trash talk was, I'm going to hit this 15-foot jumper in your face and then go on back on defense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, everyone had their own terminology, what I'm saying, of getting in your butt. And mine was, I'm not going to be on Sports Center, but I'm going to try to hit 15 or 20 mid-range jumpers, and that was kind of my personality.
Man, it sure was. I tell you what. Now I
Thank
wanna
you,
I wanna
thank
I
you.
wanna go back a little bit farther because when you came into the league and Cleveland already had a good point guard in Mark Price, and I gotta
Absolutely.
ask, did you see yourself replacing Mark Price? I mean, how was that?
No, that's a great question. I had no clue. Mark Price had taught me so much, and I'm covering him for 4 years, not
Hmm.
just for a year or two, but I'm backing him up, a perimeter all-star, all-pro player. So I wasn't like backing up somebody who I can say go to the management and say, "Oh, I want to be a starter." No, I'm backing up somebody who's great,
Right.
who people love in Ohio. So he taught me so much. So when I got that call and said that Price had got traded to the Washington Bullets,
Right.
I was shocked. because I knew how much Ohio had loved
Yeah.
Price.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was building though. You know what I'm saying? I was getting there. And once I got to my fourth year, Mr. Wayne Embry said, you're almost ready. And
Wow.
so when I replaced him, it was embarrassing because I didn't know how the fans was going to receive me.
Right.
But at the same time, I knew that if the fans don't receive me, I'm going to go somewhere else.
Right.
You know how it is. You'll end up getting traded to another team.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to be a Cavalier. I wish I would have been there for 20 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's how much I love Cleveland. But, things happen. But when I got my opportunity to replace him, I couldn't let myself down. I couldn't let my neighborhood down in Portland. And I couldn't let Ohio fans down because they're used to having a perimeter all-star. So I had to make the all-star team to just clarify, saying what Mark Price had done.
Right.
If I didn't, they were going to say, well, why did you trade Mark? We had an all-pro, an all-star, already. Why would you trade for a young guy coming from Portland who we've been watching for years? So it put added pressure on me, but I delivered.
Yeah, you did. You did. Because by the time you went back-to-back All-Star games, they were like, Mark who?
yeah. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Exactly. Hey, so I know you did some basketball camps and stuff back in the day, and an interesting thing there, and I can't wait to hear the story about this. Is it true that LeBron James attended one of your basketball camps?
Yes, it is. We had my agent was Bill Duffy, and he had an assistant named Chris Dennis who was from Akron. And so Chris Dennis came to me and said, hey, man, it's this guy named LeBron James. He's in the 7th grade, and he gets the MVP everywhere he goes. So I said, LeBron, like LeBron, that's like a different type of name.
Right.
So I said, okay, well, bring him to the camp. It was at Luke Easter, Wood Hill up in the hood in East Cleveland. So shout out to everybody in the neighborhood in Cleveland. And a busload came from Akron, and he got off the bus. And so Chris Dennis says, that's him right there. So I said, oh, okay. So I walked up to him, and I looked at him, and he was kind of unusual because he was already kind of big, in stature as a 7th grader. He already had muscles, and so he was kind of different. So I said, hey, young fella, how you doing? I'm Terrell. He said, hey, I know you are. Boo, boo, boo. And so I said to my dad, I said, Daddy, I said, it's a young man named LeBron James. I said, watch him. Now, you know how we are. We old school, right?
Right.
When the old school say, at the end of 2 hours, I said, Daddy, what do you think about that boy? My daddy said, something wrong with that boy. Now, you and I, see how you laugh? See, me and you must be around the same age. I'm 50. How old are you?
I'm 56, TB.
Okay, so you know what something wrong with that boy means.
Right.
It don't mean something wrong with that boy. It means something positive.
Right.
And he said, man, something wrong with that boy. His basketball IQ, son, is high. And I moved him from the 7th grade to the seniors in one day.
Wow.
He was telling them guys to cut. And he wasn't trying to score. What he was trying to do is get people involved. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, man, LeBron James was on TV just as much as we was, and we was in the pros.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
He in grade school. Don't take something for real, bro.
Wow. So what you and your dad saw back then, you're not really surprised by what you're seeing today.
No. It's a blessing that we was able to see it early, but you can see the maturation of his life, of where he came from when you know his story. From mom being on, unfortunately being on, on drugs and all that, and coming back, and him not having a dad, and having to pretty much raise himself. And then with me going to Cleveland, and then knowing a little bit about Akron, because Akron is just like, Houston to Texas, to Dallas. So
right.
You know where you at. It's just a drive away. Mm-hmm. You understand that there's different things going on in life, And so in Cleveland, Akron is only 30 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to go to Akron and see what Akron was about and see what he was coming from, and him coming from the hood and pretty much have to raise himself and then come back and then teach his boys how to be men. When basically he don't know how to be a man. You don't know how to be a man until you become one. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And, I'm just so proud of him. I'm proud of the man he is now.
Hey, that's great stuff, man. That is some great stuff. So now I want to also talk about some of the coaches you played for. Mike Fratello and the late Flip Saunders. So kind of just tell us a little bit about how was it playing for both of those great coaches.
Well, I would start with the great Hall of Fame Lenny Wilkens. Lenny Wilkens, he's the one, along with Mr. Wayne Emery. It's just like your first kiss. You never forget your first kiss. They're the ones, Lenny Wilkens, and saw something in me that other GMs and other coaches didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have to give respect for him. And then but Coach Fratello taught me how to be an all-star. We talked about not just being an all-star, but we talked about fashion. We used to compare notes on ties and puffs and suits. And, Coach Fratello was a neat freak. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what they call him, the czar of the illustrator. I mean, he was like that all the time. He would tell me stuff like, Terrell, if you shot before the game, you would average 1.9 points a game in the first quarter more than you do getting that 20 points a game. Stuff like that.
Wow.
I'm like,
crazy.
Hey, man, I don't shoot before the game. He's like, but if you did, he was a neat freak like that, And then I had George Carl in Milwaukee, but it was real brief because I was only in Milwaukee for a year.
Right.
And some change. But with Flip Saunders was a type of guy who he left you alone. If he was a vet, he left you alone.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that he had to put so much energy on Garnett because, KG was a young buck, Joe Smith, Wally Zerbiak, Chauncey Billups. I had some young bucks, man.
Right.
Will Avery, Wally Zerbiak. I had some young bucks.
Yeah, you did.
And he knew that he had to put energy in teaching them. So because I was already a vet and I was secure myself, he was like, thank you. I don't have to put energy on you. Let me put all this energy on these young bucks to teach them how to be a vet. And you just helped me. And so, man, Flip was a really, really nice joke.
That's great stuff to hear because, so you're in Cleveland, you end up in Milwaukee for a short period of time, and then you end up in Minnesota. So, how was it playing with, I'm sorry, Kevin Garnett and that young team and getting to the first 50 win season ever in that, franchise history at the time anyway.
Thanks for saying that, man. KG was tight, man. But the thing about it is they couldn't get over the hump. They kept saying, man, if we can get over 50 wins, and I kept saying, well, why can't y'all get to 50 wins? We're a good team. So when I got there, I was like, well, our goal is not just to get to 50 wins. We'll get over 55 wins. And they was like, what? I was like, man, we couldn't get past San Antonio. We couldn't beat David Robinson, Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
That was our problem, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, oh, we're going to get past, we're going to do this because there's no jealousy. KG is our best player.
Mm-hmm.
So if no one on the team thinks that they're better than him, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
And I made sure of that at this point guard. You know what I'm saying? I made sure of that. But as far as everything else, man, we had a nice bond and we got along and there was no jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I could count on KG every single day because he brought the same type of energy every day.
Yeah, he did.
Practice. He was a Tasmanian devil, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He brought it every single day, and that was easy for me as a point guard to say, hey, man, our best player, he works hard, so he's just not all, some people are just TV people.
Right.
And some people are just workers like us, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I tell you what, man, I miss those days. Nothing against the kids today and what they're doing, but man, those were some great days. And thank God for YouTube and every other method that we can just continue to watch the greatness that you guys displayed at that time.
I thank God for YouTube and Wikipedia and all that because honestly, MeanGene, that's kept a person like me. Everybody can't be a superstar, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But these type of venues, it keeps people like me alive.
Mm-hmm.
When young players can go, okay, you go to the Gary Payton, you go to the Michael Jordan, you go to the Isaiah Thomas, you go to the Shaq, boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
But what other players who maybe wasn't superstars who lasted 10, 11, 12
Mm-hmm.
years?
Mm-hmm.
So they can go to Terrell Brandon, they can go to Rod Strickland, they can go to Kevin Johnson, they can go to Sam Cassell, they can go to Charles Oakley, and say, okay, these guys, weren't superstars, but why they last so long?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just being consistent, and you have to be consistent when you try to get to the NBA. It's difficult to make it to the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
but man, it's hard to stay.
Yeah.
Because there's always some Negro sitting in college at Memphis or Oregon or Houston or somewhere else going, I'm going to take MeanGene's position. I'm going to take Terrell Brandon's position. I'm going to take, you know what I mean?
And that's their motivation. I totally get it. I totally get it. Hey, TB, I want to, before I let you go, man, I just want to give you an opportunity to tell the people, what you're doing now and what's going on in your world as of this moment.
Thank you so much. I'm 50 years old. I still live. I'm originally from the city of Roses, Portland, Oregon. I still live here, and I've had my barbershop for 30 years, and I have a school in my shop called Multitudes of Mercies, and they've been here for about 9, 10 years as well. The age of kindergarten to the 8th grade, and that are here right now, and so I've been doing that and just trying to stay positive in the community and doing my part.
Hey, man.
Just doing my part. I lost my mom a couple of years ago, but I'm still
so sorry to hear that.
And my dad is still around, and I'm blessed, man.
Man, that's great to hear. And look here, I want you to be safe. We're living in some crazy times with COVID-19 and everything. So I wish you the best, you and your family the best with that, man. And like I say, this has been great, man. If you know what, I'm gonna come up to Portland, and when I do, man, I can't wait to meet you. It'd be a dream come true.
Man, I would love to, man. And before you get here, let me know when you're on your way, so I'll make sure I take care of you.
All right, TB, man. Thanks a lot, man, and enjoy the rest of your day. And it was a pleasure having you here on the MeanGene Show.
You're welcome. Main thing is stay safe and God bless you.
All right, same to you, brother. Folks, Terrell Brandon, one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game, joining us here on the MeanGene Show here on iHeartRadio.